Good morning. It must be 9 o'clock. Everybody get quiet. High expectations. Start on time. My name is Mark Burke. I'm the lead coordinator for 1 Million Cups Susquehanna Valley, and this is our first event, so we're really excited to get this event kicked off. Before I start, I also want to introduce a couple people that are with the organizing team today. So Mike, obviously I think most of you probably know Mike, but he has a space.
Trying to make myself known around here.
He has this great space. You should check it out sometime. But certainly Mike has been really a great team member. Megan Baer in the background comes from CSO Centop Incorporated in Sunbury, and she's part of the team. There's a couple other team members that cannot be here today, so we're not going to introduce them. Just to learn about them on the website. Well, first of all, this is our kickoff event. I want to tell you a couple things about what we're doing and why we're doing the 1 Million Cups first. And then we have two, which I know are going to be awesome presentations today. As Mike said, I'm going to give you these two dates, December 6th and February 7th. That's our next two times we have planned. We are monthly right now, and we're hoping to see everybody and new faces back on those dates. So it's always the first Wednesday of the month. So without any more delay, we're going to jump into our presenters. We're going to have a little bit of switch up time. So Titus is going to come up. He's our first presenter today. I'll unplug and we'll get started.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Titus Troyer, and I own the Titus Abraham Company. That was me. It's pretty cool. Today is actually the 3-year anniversary of me launching my business. So it's really cool to be able to do this today, and also preparing for this presentation, of course, looking back, it was great to think about some of the things I've learned. Some of it's not so fun, but yes, this is really cool to be able to be here. The Titus Abraham Company, we design and build custom pieces, mainly furniture and architectural features. I got into this because I love design. I've loved design for as long as I remember, and it turned into a business. The way I got started, we bought a house that needed some renovation work and did that, loved it. And then I had a seasonal job at the time, and my wife worked for a company that wanted to convert a storage room into an office space. And so during the winter, I took on that project. I really enjoyed that. And so I thought that, 3 to 5 years, I'd like to transition into doing this and pursue this as a career. And no sooner had I made that decision when my boss informed me that he was getting out of his business. He was either going to sell it or dissolve the company. So there was a chance that the following year I wouldn't have a job. And so my 3 to 5 year plan quickly became a few month plan. And I had jumped in and just went for it, and I'm extremely glad that it happened that way. It's definitely created some challenges, but I think that I would have faced all the same challenges if I would have had a carefully laid out plan. When I first started my company, I offered renovation work as well as custom built pieces. My thinking was that by offering a wider range of services, it'd be easier to stay busy. And there was some truth to that, but it wasn't a sustainable business model for me. So about a year ago, I decided to focus exclusively on building pieces. And that has been great for me this year. I narrowed my focus on what I'm doing, but I actually expanded my goals dramatically. My goal now is to become an internationally known luxury furniture model or brand. Not necessarily widely known, but in the select circle, I do want to reach an international audience. There's some great companies out today that offer click and buy services, and that's a very legitimate business model. I use a lot of them, I support them, but I think there's a gap in the marketplace for clients who want pieces that are specific to them, the experience of having a business actually know who you are, focus on you, pay attention to you, listen to you, and create something around your vision that's exactly what you want. And that's the market that I'm trying to reach, that's the niche I'm trying to fit. And my focus is on creating extremely high quality products that are well designed, well built, and like I said, that are focused on the client and what they want. I do have a couple pictures that I'd like to go through and discuss a little bit. So this is when we bought the house, the top is what the kitchen looked like, and the bottom is what it turned into. And this was, we bought the house, I had zero experience with design or building or anything like that. And it turned out like that, and I loved it. I had a lot of fun doing it, and this is actually what launched this whole experience. This is a typical, I said I now do furniture and architectural features, so this would be a typical project. This was a renovation project. I was not the contractor on it, but they contacted me about building some custom doors for them, so I supplied the doors and the hardware. And this is part of the customer experience I'm offering. This client, she actually came out to my shop and helped select the lumber for her project, and she made some cuts. I don't have any pictures of that, but she actually did help with some of the work as well as the material selection. And that island top is what we're working on in the previous picture. And so now, whenever she walks into her kitchen, she sees that she has the that memory of, she knows, where it came from, how it was made, and she actually assisted in that. This is from visiting our lumber supplier, picking out some slabs to the installed product. This is a live edge bar we installed. And again, on this particular project, the client actually went with us to our lumber supplier, and they helped pick out the individual slabs that were then used for their project. This is a design I did for a client. She wanted some custom railings. We sat down, went over a couple different designs, and ended up with this. And so that's, just a brief overview of what we offer and the customization and having the clients involved with the project. Are there questions?
So, actually, this isn't really a question, it's more as an observation. I talk to a lot of young people starting businesses, and one of the first things I ask them is like, what's your motivation? And a lot of times they say, well, I need healthcare, I need money, things like that. And one thing that I heard you say over and over again is you love what you do, and that is like the most important thing that you can have in running your own business.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's like huge. So, I mean, that's something that you have going for you that a lot of people don't, have
Right.
for them. So.
And I agree with that. And it is, like, part of it is conscious. Like, I do need money.
Sure.
But I have a policy, and I'm deliberate about this, is once I give a client a price, and we agree on it, I then try to forget my margins, what I'm making. If things don't work out the way I need or I thought they were going to, and I need to change things up, I don't go back and look, okay, well, I can do this and still be okay. Like, I forget about that, and I want the product to be right, and then on the next one, I'll adjust my price accordingly. But I never want to operate from the point of, well, this would be the right way to do it, but I don't have that budgeted, so I'm going to do it this way.
Yeah, you kind of, another observation is like, a lot of people like to compete in a crowded space. It's like a race to the top. You look at the iPhone X, right? And then all of a sudden you're going to have a race to the bottom. When you operate in, I'm assuming this is expensive and high end,
Yes.
for a select group, that gives you some exclusivity. It's not like you're trying to make pieces at Walmart, so
Right.
there's always a big advantage to being in very slim spectrum of your audience is smaller, your customer base is going to be smaller, but you can charge them for it. So again, not so much as a comment or a question, but more of an observation of what I like about what you're doing.
Well, I appreciate that because that's been a very deliberate goal of mine as well, to be, and I've actually been hurting, needing money and turn down projects because they're not what I wanted to do. And that's starting to pay off now. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, very nice.
How do you market yourself and where do you get your business from?
90+% of it has been word of mouth. Originally, like I said, the first renovation project I did for a client was for the people my wife worked for, and it just kind of snowballed from there. We do have social media accounts. I'm not doing any paid advertising right now. We're considering that, but yeah, it's been word of mouth. Is there a question?
I was going to essentially ask the same thing. I was wondering, do you use opportunities like a Pinterest or whatever because I love your work.
Thank you.
And it's just outstanding. And it would be so great if other people could see that intermingled with how to reach you, how to engage you, how to start the discussion for what sounds like very, very creative projects. And that's where social media can be.
Right. We right now we do all free social media. We post on Instagram and Facebook 3 times a week, and then there's of course links to our website, and then our website goes in a little bit more detail of the process and contact information. And we try to, on social media, I always try to look at each post, how this relates to the client. Like if someone is scrolling through Instagram or sees this, would speak to them and answer some of their questions or be attractive to them, not just, oh, this is cool, this is interesting, but is it actually, answer a question for them or relate to what they're looking for.
So do you have a sketch of how you're going to go from a local word of mouth to scale to an international presence?
I'm working on some things right now and it would basically revolve around creating a customer experience that people just rave about, and where so right now I offer custom design, so if a client buys a piece from me, commissions a piece from me, they do have that customer experience of knowing this piece was created specifically for them, it was designed as part of the process. And that has actually worked really well locally. But I would like to expand on that and create more of a luxury experience around ordering a piece from me. And like I said, it's very early in the development, but I'm working on some things in that. And so it would be around customer experience and making that aware, like if I do build a piece for someone who's in my target audience, they're going to tell their acquaintances who are also in my target audience that, listen, you have to go here, you have to get a piece from this guy. Does that answer your question?
A little bit.
Okay.
I was sort of thinking, how would you recreate that experience for someone who's 1,000 miles away or 10,000 miles away? Maybe technology could provide an interactive way
yes.
to get that experience.
Okay. My main vision that I have right now would involve like face-to-face interaction. We would be willing to, and one of the things we'll offer is traveling to wherever the client is. If they don't have time or the desire to come here, we will travel there, we'll sit down with you wherever you are, meet with you, and offer that focused experience wherever you
How about on your website? I know it's probably not as customizable from your end, but what if you offer, okay, these are the tabletops, these are the different kinds of legs, this is the hardware, and they could sort of mix and match and create their own custom piece internationally, where then you can go from there. It's more customizable on the client's end and doesn't give you much say, but you can also then contact them and work through that.
Like use that as a starting point.
Yeah.
And say, and that's something we've discussed, go back and forth on, you know, should we have a few standard pieces that can be customized? So if someone, you know, they like what I do, but they don't want to invest the time, because it can, I've worked with clients for 3 months just to develop a design.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, they don't want to do that, but they still, and that's something we've discussed. So far, I've been, especially this year, I've been kept extremely busy just doing custom pieces, and so I haven't developed that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's definitely something we've looked
Yeah,
at.
if they could also like see their finished product, they could sort of like, here's my tabletop, and then the legs go in, you know, like on
Right.
the website,
Yes.
that they can actually do like a 3D view
Mhm.
and then order it that way, but then have that consultation with you.
Right. And that is,
Nice.
yeah, that's something we've discussed. I mean, my focus is on starting from scratch and building a piece that's completely unique for each person. That is my main focus, but that's definitely something to keep, or yeah, to.
Yeah,
shoot
just for
for.
like international, you know, so you have that contact with them, whereas local, you could do it completely different.
Right.
I was just thinking, as you're targeting, as you're targeting specific, like specific target audience, if you do a lot of your work here, I'd imagine that you would be pretty much like people who want to know about you probably know about you. I'm wondering if too, as you're thinking about trying to target that specific audience around, if you might even consider reaching out to the areas that they are in bigger cities or across in Europe or wherever, and perhaps saying, hey, can I, reaching out to an establishment that where these people maybe congregate, and saying, hey, can I give you or work with you to like you've done here at Ironfront? Can I put in some of my pieces as conversation starters, just to get your name into another area
Right.
to start that conversation? Just kind of thinking about hitting that same audience in a different area.
Right.
Just throwing out ideas.
Yeah, and I think you're onto something, because like what I'm noticing is people really like real stuff. Like real, like they're sick and tired of the crappy furniture that looks pretty, but then as soon as you get a scratch on it, it's like ruined. You know what I mean? Like
That's
they want
what I
the real
hope so.
stuff.
Yeah, and I
So I think
agree. I
you're
think
going to
that's-
ride a wave, I think, for a while on that. And your pieces are just beautiful. It's like, maybe, I'm trying to think of what Stacy said. It's Stacy, right?
Yeah.
Like I wonder if that sort of thing, like when I was buying these, the guy who makes these had different colors,
Okay.
example colors, which for me it was kind of hard to visualize what it would look like with different colors, but he had that already on his website, so it made it super easy for me to say, all right, that looks like a great color. And I think he offered like, all right, well, if you don't like that color, we can customize it for like X amount of dollars more or something like that. But my brother made a couple pieces here. He was getting like $20,000 for a conference table on Etsy. I'm like, who buys a $20,000? He's like rich people in California and Montana, and he's like the issue that I'm dealing with is shipping it, shipping those heavy pieces and stuff like that. So he ended up moving to Hawaii, but he was a welder first, learned the live edge stuff, and was having a great time in a makerspace in Pittsburgh. And he was on to something. Unfortunately he left, but I think he was like on the cusp of doing something. He was getting into magazines and stuff like that.
Okay.
And, yeah. So, yeah, I really like the path that you're on there.
Well, thank you. I agree that I think there's a desire for a market for real legitimate pieces.
Well, and Michael, you bring up a really good point, which is best practice in talking to people who have achieved, who have gone down this path before, in order to save time, certainly save money. The awareness that you get, the recognition from magazines, the challenge is discerning, are you art or are you functional?
Yeah, maybe like Brian Crow over at your place at the incubator. Do you know him at all, Brian Crow? He did the Extreme Makeover show a couple seasons of that. He was a producer.
Okay.
So like getting into like, can you get published in magazines and TV shows and stuff like that? Maybe he would be a good one to talk to about.
Okay.
Like,
That's great to know.
yeah.
Using a video also, which is really important, to just show what you do, show the painstaking effort you go, with your client and on behalf of your client. And I think that's very expressive.
Yeah, capture
And
the
of course
the story behind it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One thing you gotta be really careful about is I see one man. I don't know what's behind you. I don't know if you have people, mentors that you work with or whatever, but you gotta be really careful. If this thing blows up, you're one guy. If you don't have a process in place.
Yeah, what if a restaurant orders like 50 pieces or something?
Right.
You know?
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
That can be really detrimental. So you gotta start putting the pieces in place today to be ready for when your name or your cable gets mentioned on the Good Morning America show, one of those. You never know, it could just blow
Right.
up. So you gotta make sure that you have kind of process in place in advance. So you might want to start. That should probably be your first step, in my opinion, is like figure out how do I mass produce these great custom tables. I mean, they're all going to be custom, but you
Right.
still have to figure out a way to do them
Yeah.
quickly.
We're not that too. I mean, so like when I think about my businesses, I do a quad of like, is it a lifestyle or growth oriented company? Like I think that would be my first question for you is this a lifestyle business for you, or is it a growth oriented company?
Right.
You're gonna do mass produce stuff. And then the second one would be, is it a services company or is it a product company? Because that really is going to determine the other part of how you grow. And this feels more services oriented than product oriented, because there's some big differences there in terms of how you grow. And the primary difference being that a services business it's a talent problem. A services business is always going to be how much you can grow your talent on your team. Versus a product company is more about scale, and on a product scale, it's more about, it's not talent, you don't have to use talent. So I think that in that quad, but to figure out where you are is really important. And a lot of people want to be growth oriented, because they want to be mentioned on Wall Street Journal and things like that. But in reality, if they really sit down and think about it, they are a lifestyle business. They just want, like for you, it might not be you. I mean, it might be say, hey, I do want to mass produce it, but if you don't want to mass produce it, that's fine too. To know up front, like I want to get on Good Morning America, and then that just means I can charge $10,000 more.
And in my mind, I always talk to Leighton Lutzy about this, the lifestyle versus enterprise business. And in my mind, if a lifestyle business feels to me like, am I okay with like 100 or 200,000 with like a couple assistants, not getting to like 25, 50 full-timers, versus like what Kevin's saying, like if you're going to mass produce and get into that enterprise level mode, then you're pumping all your money into building the company. You're having to worry about full-time employees, paychecks, so it's a totally different thing. Like, yeah, like I totally agree with what Kevin said about that too.
Titus, the one thing I heard in your message, and I think it speaks to your story, is the evolution of your company. And if the number one thing to take away from what you said is be true to your niche. And I can tell you, in 20-some years of entrepreneurship, every time I tried to be all things to all people, I failed. But every time I stayed true to my profession, true to my niche, the market that I've developed and identified is when you can shine. And it's just like what Kevin's saying. It's like, what is it? And defining that and then run with it and be true to that. I think that's the message I heard you say today. So appreciate you sharing. Thank you.
Yeah, basically, you already said it. I think that we already know what you said, but as you get more and more famous, you're going to be tempted to take on, you know what I mean? Like, so you better prepare for that. Be prepared, like, for these huge orders,
Right.
Like, what are you going to do in these cases?
My name's Robin Muller, and I'm the CEO and head coach of College Ready Playbook. A little background on me, and it'll give you an insight into why this became. I coached women's basketball for 15 years at the Division I level, all down south. You might hear a little accent. And then I was also a Division II athletic director. And that brings me to just a little comparison I want to present to you in that, does anyone here know the difference between a northern fairy tale and a southern fairy tale? A northern fairy tale always starts out once upon a time. A southern fairy tale starts out, y'all ain't gonna believe this. And the point being that there's more than one way to skin a cat, and I'm skinning a different cat here. College Ready Playbook is essentially a service for high school athletes and their parents to learn and understand and navigate the NCAA eligibility rules. Now, some of you may or may not know that if you're going to play Division I or Division II athletics, you have to fulfill certain academic requirements with a specific grade point average, with a specific test score, and then schools can actually say, yes, you can play. It's different than recruiting, and that's where I'm different. I'm not a recruiting service. A recruiting service is going to send out videos or mailers to college coaches all over the place. And having been a college coach, take that, goes in the trash. I know who I want. But you as a parent, how do you get your son or daughter into these places without using something like that? First, you need to make sure you're eligible. And I recently did a little blog on my website that said, what about a walk-on? Think about the walk-ons that you may or may not know. Hunter Renfro from Clemson, who caught the winning national championship football pass. Corey Matthews, that plays for Green Bay Packers. He was a walk-on. Watts, who plays for Houston, was a walk-on. And it's incredible to think about these professional athletes who have walked on. But what needs to be the common thread is, and especially now that the NCAA has said you have to have these requirements, how do you become that walk-on? You have to be prepared. So I'm going to prepare you. I'm going to take you as a freshman or sophomore, and I'm going to guide you through this NCAA turbulent water of what classes do you have to have, how many English, how many math. And then we're going to look at those grades that you need to be attaining. Then the other component, that's the little academic side, but where do I fit? Do I want to be a big fish in a little pond? You know, do I want to go to that smaller school, that Division II, Bloomsburg University, but be big man on campus, big woman on campus, get all that playing time? Or are you content to go to a Penn State and ride the bench and possibly walk on and be that Hunter Renfro? So part of what I want to do with my clients is to sit down and map out, what do you want to be when you grow up? Who do you want to be? And then how to get there. There are over 350 Division II schools in the country that people don't think about because all you see is the big timers on television. And I have contacts into several of those because I broadcast for men's and women's basketball on television. So I'm traveling the countryside as well, and what that allows me to do is find these schools and see what's special about them and bring that back to my client and say, hey, have you thought about this particular school? They offer this, what you want academically. It's a smaller size. It may be in Kentucky, but everything's a flight now. And presenting them these options of where these schools are, what these schools can give to them, and how best for them to approach those coaches and those individuals who might be the decision makers. And believe me, when you're at a smaller school, smaller Division I, Division II, if you can have somebody reaching out to you and they have a skill set that fills the void that you need, it makes recruiting that much better because you don't have those big giant, big time budgets to travel around the countryside to find these people. So this all came about noodling in my head for, I guess since when you're coaching, you get fired all the time. So since the last time I was fired. But how can I take that information and then what I know and my passion for helping young people and my passion for educating and turn that into something that could be worthwhile? And so sitting on the beach in the Cayman Islands literally 2 years ago, and I was talking to my best friend from college, and her son had gone through a counselor on the academic side. I'm like, you know what? That's what these kids need who are interested in athletics. They need a counselor on the athletic side, but more than just a recruiter. They need someone to guide and to navigate and to explain and to give them that information so that it's all about the preparation. So regardless of what school, if you walk up to a coach and say, I want to walk on, and the guy next to you also does, if you're eligible already, he's going to take you. So that's what I have.
I said to Robin just now, you know, like on she's broadcast on ESPN. I said, you know, when they do those little trailers of like, tonight at 8 o'clock, NCIS, and she should be mentioning it. So you guys thought about college
That's right.
on TV? That'd be pretty nice.
Yeah, it would. Yes, sir.
Hey Rob, I'm just curious. So my background in online education. Are you working currently with any online, larger, like there's nationally based online high school programs? Just wondering if you're connected with them.
Not currently, and that's really where where I need the most help right now. And I only launched last April, so this is a baby program. But how to continue to get the word out there, how to get in front of these parents, because when I do talk to them, they're like, oh my God, I need you. You know, and whenever I'm just visiting, just out and about. But it's getting in front of the high schools, the booster clubs, the parent groups, and letting them know that this is here and it's available. And that right now is my biggest challenge. And admittedly, I'm not a salesperson. I know that about myself. I'm not a great salesperson, I'm a good storyteller. But to be able to go out there and say, you need me, and to find those different avenues. Once I get in front of somebody, then yes, I can get you to
In a
sign.
way, are you sort of selling a peace of mind for the parents, saying, hey, I got this, I'm gonna help your kid through this process. You can go about, because I as a parent, I would need somebody, I would pay somebody to say, all right, we got this, you know, we're gonna work through this checklist, here's your kid's plan, and you know, on a monthly basis, I'm gonna check in or something. Is that sort of
Yes, and that's kind of the protocol, and that's what I'm doing currently. I have about a dozen clients so far, and I check in with them monthly.
Okay.
They have the ability to reach me anytime via email and go over, you know, hey, I have this question. I have one young man, he's my senior in the group, and he's actually out of Northern Virginia, and been working with him since last spring. And he has all his ducks in a row, but then the other question was, well, what about the school? What do you want to study? And one of the schools that he was interested in, because his grandmother lives in the area, is Western Carolina University. Well, it just so happens that through my television work, I know the men's basketball coach. I could reach out to him and say, hey, here's a guy that's interested. He sent something right away back and said, have him, you know, reach out to that recruiting coordinator in that region and his staff. He said, we don't have any scholarships. I said, you know, yeah, but he might be a good guy to walk on. So that's kind of where we are right now. But I need to get this reach out there. I think this is something that, again, could blow up like Titus's, but I need to get it out there.
So you're looking for the distribution channels and raising, which just set up that network with the online programs and the high schools.
Yes.
And those specifically in the booster area, and also with guidance counselors to do the academic.
Yes, and to be able to
bring together the
partner with them.
academic, okay.
Yeah, and to, you know, we do have some, you know, I have a website that I've generated and created, and it has all the bells, you know, the fancy stuff. And once this does blow up, my vision is to create more of a software platform that is self-involving with the athletes as well, where we're touching base, or they get a ping, an app that says, hey, you know, these test dates are available for the SAT or the ACT. You know, ping, this is due to the NCAA, get it sent, your transcript, your whatever.
And then it'll check off. Do you have packages that you have where you have the pricing set up and arranged for groups, or is it just geared towards individual sales prices at this point?
Right now, it's individual sales prices, and basically, as I'm starting, it's a flat rate. So I could start with you as a sophomore, I'll start with you as a senior, it's gonna be the same rate right now. Now, I do have a picture of growth in that. I would like to set up tiers of packages where someone, hey, I want just a streamline, you're gonna give me what those rules are, you're gonna check in with me, once a month, but it's all gonna be via email, reminders. The next package would be more hands-on, face-to-face. The upper level would be, where are you, let's hold your hand all the way through, and let's see if we can create some interest from the schools that you like. So that is my eventual picture. But just hitting the ground, let's just get some bodies in here, let's kind of work through the kinks, but also get the word out. Yes.
I recently attended something similar. It wasn't as focused on academics, it was more on recruiting. And what I noticed from your presentation, it was more personable, where that one, I was kind of turned off because it was definitely a sales pitch. And then the following, I kept getting sales type emails. So I would definitely focus on that yours more personable. And reach out to athletic directors, because I know ours was very interested in having this gentleman come in and talk to parents, because parents have questions, they don't understand the process. The second thing I would just also note, going from your presentation and also the one that I had heard, he had focused a lot on football, and then I heard you mention basketball. I would just be very cautious to keep referring to basketball, because then people will just assume, well, if only you would be, my kid would be beneficial only if they played basketball.
Yeah.
So maybe use some other examples as well.
Okay, good. Yeah, and that's perfect. And I do have a golfer, tennis, so yes.
Yes. So
And I have reached out to at least all the area athletic directors. I sent them a little notice of, hey, I will come speak to your groups. And so I think, it's for something like this, to send about 100 and send out some more blasts on it. But I want to come in and talk to those kids. I want to come into the high schools or for the ADs or their coaches and say, let me help you. I want to be out there and give you this information.
I was just going to say, because to me, you have the storytelling ability. Self-admittedly, you can tell stories. And I think that, to me, that's a huge advantage, rather than being salesy, sort of a sales pitch thing. People can relate to your storytelling better than you feel like they're having something pushed on them. And I think you should use that to your advantage. There's nothing wrong with personal interaction. You can send email blasts and postcards and all that, but to me, there's nothing like, hey, trying to make direct contact and using your story and your verbalizing what your goal is, what your mission is, and who you want to help and why, rather than in just a printed form. I think that interaction is going to be huge, because not a lot of people will do that.
Thank you.
Do parents ever say, well, our high school guidance counselor can do that or something? Because in my experience, like, my kids don't even know who their guidance counselors are. They're so busy with other stuff that the kids are not really tapping into them at all. So do you ever hear?
And I
don't see that as competition.
I've heard that a lot, and I don't see, in fact, I have a niece and nephew who, my niece is finishing up her senior year, and my brother and sister-in-law said she's in a school of 3,000. They don't know her. She doesn't know them. She's like, I might have talked to them one time. But they're using an independent guidance counselor to help her plan it out. And certainly I think that that's very valid. That guidance counselors of old, when I was in school, that actually sort of guided you to those colleges is a lot different than what they're doing now, from what I understand.
Hey, I would agree with what was mentioned. I mean, I think your authenticity is amazing. Like, I want to work with you, and I don't have kids who are ready for college yet. But I think what's even better about that is you're training young students how to then, get that skill and learn how to talk about themselves. And I love that you focused on students a lot, or said, the student themselves and not just the parents, because I think so many times services like this are just aimed at parents. And then what happens is the parents get trained on how to do everything, and then the seniors are ready to graduate college, and they have no idea how to navigate anything. Right. So I think the fact that you're doing that from high school is great. And something that just popped into my mind, so I'm just going to share it. I mean, I know when we meet with our financial advisor twice a year or whatever, my husband and I, again, saving for college, but kids aren't near that age yet. You know, we always just talk about it, check on it. I don't know if it would make sense for you to connect with certain financial advisors or things like that.
Okay.
Because, you know, it would just be more of a referral. Hey, have you thought about this?
Yeah.
Here's someone, because, you know, we do know people who help plan for college, but if
Right.
this is the specific niche,
Yeah.
and again, you're super authentic, so I think the more people you can talk to, it just helps spread the word and know that you're a great resource.
Great, thank you, appreciate it.
I don't know if this is even a thing, but do you do any damage control? Like a current student in a college that is falling out of?
You know, I can do that. My background I was a compliance officer when I was a Division II athletic director, and so part of my role in that was the eligibility once they were there. And again, the germination of this thought in the back of my head was, one was working with the kids who got on campus who weren't eligible, the, you know, cross-country teams loading up the van, and this kid can't go with them because all the T's haven't been crossed. The other is that athlete that's already there that is struggling and they're having a hard time staying eligible, or they end up transferring somewhere, coming in from a junior college. Those are all areas within my wheelhouse that could be a growth factor as well. But I think the most difficult part about that is that that's if they're already on campus, if they're already within the system, they're working with with the compliance officers there, and in theory, their coaches want them to be there, so they're really pushing through that. Now, if it's a kid that has left school because they became ineligible, then they want to go back, that would be another niche client.
If they're already on a team, the school's going to be focused on them.
They're gonna, yes, they're already on a team, unless the coach wants to run them off, they're gonna make sure that they're getting what they need in terms of tutoring, in terms of how to follow that coursework that's required once you're on campus.
So this is more of a branding type of question. So I was looking at your banner for quite a bit in College Ready Playbook, and I understand what you're doing with the playbook part of it, is referring to sports. But it took me a while to kind of like put two and two together. So ideally with your branding, you want to try to convey your message or what it is, your value proposition as quickly as you possibly can. And this may be a copyright issue, I don't know, with NCAA's. But I mean, I would consider trying to you're basically putting your value proposition all the way at the bottom there. Like, NCAA ready playbook would be maybe that's a copyright issue, I don't know. But I would try to figure out a way to really make your branding convey your value proposition as quickly as you possibly can in your name. So college ready, I don't know. I have kids that are, all my kids are geeks, so they wouldn't play a day of sports in their life. They're all computer guys. I would look at that and say, wow, I wonder if I could use her. So you may get a lot of, if you don't really kind of hone your branding down, you may get a lot of unqualified leads, which could eat up some of your time.
Right.
So something to think about.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Robin, one thing, so Missy said, hey, maybe you could connect with financial advisors who are advising parents about the future for college for their kids. Another organization, have you reached out to United States or national youth sports organizations, field hockey, soccer, lacrosse, and so their player development programs, their summer camps for elite players. I imagine parents bringing star young player, middle school, early high school even, to that development camp. Student is getting that training experience. Maybe there's an opportunity for you to speak to the parents at an event like that or through those networks.
Yeah, and I think that's great. And in fact, have not reached out, but I had gone to Ohio to see my older brother. My nephew there plays soccer. And so we went to the soccer thing, and there were 20 fields of soccer players going, just on and all day long. And I'm like, this is where I need to start getting there. So tapping into some of these organizations, and they're more regionally directed initially. So it's, trying to hit into the regions and then building into the national summit. Yes, I see that as having great potential as well.
Just to add to that, those are the parents that will spend the money.
Yeah, yes, you're right, exactly. Because they think everyone's a Division I player when they're there. Yeah. Yes.
12-year-olds.
Right. They're going to be, World Cups in their future. Yeah. Anything else? Well, I really appreciate the feedback and the opportunity to present.
We always want to end. I'm going to bring Titus back up because kind of another opportunity. We have a couple minutes before. The question kind of is, now that you've both been through this, and this is our first time as the audience, think about all the questions that you've had, and now the question is, what can we do for you? And so I know you kind of just came off your presentation, so let's start with you, Robin. If you could kind of boil up, and just what can we do for you? And then Titus, maybe you can go.
Well, I love some of the ideas and fantastic thoughts about different areas to contact to continue to get the word out. And I think that's the biggest thing. How to, I need to get the word out. I want people to be able to find me and use this service. So as you're going about your lives and you see other people in athletics, or I like the financial advisors thing, it's like, hey, I know somebody that has this stuff. Can you present her information to your clients or your people or in your church group? And I mean, everybody's sphere of influence is huge when you start boiling into it. And I would just appreciate any community extensions that you might be able to offer for me.
Right.
Actually, I knew this question was coming up, and I thought about it, and I forgot about it, and I thought about it some more, and I haven't come up with anything great other than you guys want to just stay here and do this Q&A thing the rest of the day. That was really helpful. Basically, any ideas, questions that you have that you could ask me to make me think, or point any ideas you guys have, that's what I'm looking for. So yeah, I'm sorry I don't have anything better than that, but
I would love if you could take a business card, take one of my flyers with you. That'd be great.
more prepared than I am.
No. you had digital, I didn't.
Please feel free to stay around and network and certainly answer some of those last questions. So again, thank you. Remember our next event, December 6th. And please help yourself to additional coffee in the back. Again, a big thank you to Mike for being our host. Thank you, Mike, so much. And to both of you, congratulations and thank you. So hang around, you can chat, and we'll be here for a while. Thank you.